recording this presentation so that it can be put up on our website for future watching. So if you have any colleagues that may have missed this and would like to check it out, feel free to direct them to our website, which is gepowerstation.com. So without further ado, I want to welcome you guys to the What's What on Healthy Fats. So quick quiz question this morning. True or false? Fat is an unhealthy part of the diet and should be limited as much as possible. Any takers?
Probably a trick question.
False.
Yes, I think you guys probably know the answer. That's false. But there was a time, not too distant, that this was a prevalent feeling, and I'm sure you guys know the fat hate craze that took place in the 80s and 90s that really perpetuated that falsehood of fat being unhealthy. And so it's important to note that fat is one of the three major macronutrients that our body needs for fuel. And of course, the other two are carbohydrate and protein. But specifically today, we're going to be discussing fats. So fats play many important roles in your nutrition. And in addition to supplying energy, they add flavor and palatability to your foods. They also help you feel full. So they give you that, they increase satiety. And then fat is also very essential for our bodies. When we're young, fat plays a huge role in our growth and brain development. There's many fat-soluble vitamins that cannot get taken where they need to go in the body without fat. So fat's kind of that shuttle mechanism. In addition to that, fat's also essential because it helps to cushion our vital organs and skeletal system. And then they also provide essential fatty acids that the body cannot make, which are needed for both metabolism and cell function. So they're very, very important. So when it comes to fat, it's not just about the amount, but it's about the type. And as long as you're not overdoing it, the type is probably even more important. So we've got four types of fat that occur in all food. That's monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, saturated, and trans. I'm sure if you guys have ever taken a look at the back of a nutrition facts panel on a food item, you've seen some of these listed, some not. But it's important to note that most fats are a combination of different types. But as far as classifying them, we usually just classify them by whatever is most abundant in that food item. So for example, olive oil contains both monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, and saturated fat, but it contains much more monounsaturated fat than the other two, so we classify that as a monounsaturated fat. So let's start with healthy fats you should choose more often. So we'll start with monounsaturated fats, and these are a type of heart-healthy fat that may help lower blood cholesterol. And we basically know that they help to increase our good cholesterol and lower the bad cholesterol, which is very important for heart health. So they are liquid at room temperature, but turn solid when chilled. So that's an easy way to kind of differentiate them. And some examples of foods that are rich in monounsaturated fat include olive, canola, and peanut oil, avocados, olives, and then most nuts. So you've got almonds, cashews, pistachios, normal peanuts. All those are classified as monounsaturated fats. So in addition to the mono, you also want to choose polyunsaturated fats because these have also been shown as a heart-healthy fat that helps to lower bad cholesterol and increase healthy cholesterol. These are also liquid at room temperature when it comes to the oils. And some examples of these are sunflower, corn, cottonseed, and soybean oil. And you've also got fatty fish that fall under the polyunsaturated fats. And you've also got some other nuts and seeds, such as walnuts, tree nuts like Brazil nuts, pine nuts, chia seeds, and flax seeds. So it's also important to note that polyunsaturated fats also provide essential fatty acids. So I'm sure you guys have heard omega-3s and omega-6s. These are really big, especially the omega-3s are really big in the fatty fish. And these are the fats that our body needs for good health, but they cannot make on their own. Hence the essential tag. So following the polyunsaturated, I want to dive into just one particular item that we had on there, which was the fatty fish. So fatty fish is especially rich in omega-3 fats and are also a great protein source. The double whammy. Omega-3s can come from other sources too, such as vegetable oils, walnuts, and flaxseed, but fish are an especially good choice. So some types of fish that are rich in omega-3s include tuna, trout, herring, sardines, and salmon. And nutritional guidelines recommend eating fish at least twice per week. Of course, it's important to opt to choose baked or broiled fish instead of breaded and fried. And why we say go baked and broiled instead of breaded and fried, of course, is because when we actually fry stuff in those oils, that's soaking it in. It's what we call the saturated fat. So these are the fats that we know to be not healthy for the heart. They increase bad cholesterol and lower good cholesterol. And these saturated fats are typically solid at room temperature and have been shown to increase bad cholesterol levels significantly. Some examples include tropical oils, coconut, palm kernel. We've also got butter included in there. And I know everyone, we're in the South, I know everyone's like, oh, really? Can't eat any butter. It's still a saturated fat, so it's important to keep that in mind and just moderate its intake. We've also got fatty meats that are high in saturated fats. So this is our bacon, sausage, poultry with the skin on it, really fatty cuts of beef. Whole and 2% milk and regular cheeses are also pretty high on the saturated fat levels. So as I said earlier, it's important to moderate their intake as well. Now I do want to bring attention to one item that you guys see up here, and that's your coconut oil. I get the question a lot, is coconut oil healthy? There's a lot of articles that have come out in the past 5 or so years that state the many health benefits of intaking coconut oil. And coconut oil is one of those that it's kind of in a gray area because it actually does increase good cholesterol, but it also increases bad cholesterol because it is high in saturated fat. So it's one of those fats that kind of does a little of both, so it rides the middle lane, if you will. But it's important to note that it is still high in saturated fat. So, and we know that to be connected with poor heart health. So if at all possible, it's best to just try to replace that with some other unsaturated fat. So you've got some other examples here on the screen. I know it's all the stuff that tastes so good. But you can have stuff that tastes good too that's full of unsaturated fat. So that's what I'm trying to bring to light here. All right, guys, so what to include? So you want to include cooking with oils that we spoke about earlier, so your olive, your canola, and you want to use those in place of those solid fats that are full of the saturated. So that's your butter and lard. You also want to use olive oil and vinegar as a salad dressing versus other fatty dressings such as ranch, blue cheese. You also want to add avocados to salads and sandwiches. Have a small portion of nuts or seeds as a snack. Of course, as we spoke about earlier, choose fish at least twice a week. Then another example would be enjoying olives on a sandwich or salad. So remember, healthy fats are important, but calories in any kind of fat can add up fast. Watch your portions so you don't overdo it. So one thing to bring to your attention is, although we have the healthy fats, they do contain more than twice the amount of calories per gram than both carbohydrates and protein. So your carbohydrates and protein clock in at 4 calories per gram, whereas fat clocks in at 9 calories per gram. So although it is good for the heart, don't overdo it, because you can easily ingest a lot of calories if you're not being careful. So we have what we call the healthy, or the halo effect, where there is such thing as eating too much of a good thing. So some ways that you can keep an eye on portions are using just measurements with your hand. So 1 tablespoon of something such as peanut butter is about the size of a thumb. 1 teaspoon for buttery spreads is about the size of a thumb tip. 1 handful is about half a cup of some foods, or a small serving of nuts. An open palm is about 3 ounces, and that's a good measurement for a serving of meat or poultry. And then finally, 2 handfuls is about 1 ounce for lighter, more airy stuff such as certain snack foods and like potato chips. So what will you do next? Read labels for types of fat. Remember to try to stay away from stuff that's high in the saturated and trans fat. The trans fat is even worse than the saturated fat, and so it's recommended that you try to limit that from your diet at all. Luckily, the government is helping us with that, and soon, I think middle of next year, there will be no trans fat in any foods. But for the time being, do keep an eye out for that as well. Will you replace an unhealthy fat source with a healthy fat source? And will you eat fatty fish more frequently? And that's all I've got today, guys. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to shoot them out now. And otherwise, I want to thank you guys for joining. And like I said earlier, please be sure to visit gepowerstation.com for replays of the previous What's What webinars that we've put out this past month of October, and helpful mindfulness videos encompassing a wide variety of activities that can be done quickly and easily during your workday. Well, thank y'all, and have a good one.